What's up, cyberspace cadets? It's Irate Prostate here. It's Sunday. It's time for another ice cream interview. And the whole concept behind the ice cream interview is that I like to give myself a treat once a week, and that's on Sundays. And I like to talk to people that I find interesting and want to know more about. And to introduce this gentleman, it's like this guy's like a jack of all trades when it comes to YouTube. He's a very fascinating person. He's lived an incredibly diverse life. He's very talented. You know, it's like I'm really not doing any like dick pulling or any of this shit. The truth. This is the truth about the finer print. And so, without any further ado, I'll introduce today's guest, the finer print.
I'm fucking blushing here, man. Hey, everybody, how's it going? I'm the finer print.
Yes. I was explaining earlier, I like to open up with, everybody that I do this with, I ask this, question, what gave you the idea to come to YouTube? You know, what appealed to you about that drew you here, and how did you, where'd your name come from and your avatar, things like that?
Well, the idea to come onto YouTube, it started out from just me watching a lot of different kind of content creators that I liked. People like Vernaculus, Sargon, Teal Deer, later on Tonka-san and the Kumite. In the very early stages, I was mostly just listening. I wasn't really participating. All kinds of different content creators that did stuff that interested me, and I thought, I could probably help contribute something to the pile and do things in my own certain unique twists. And I wanted to originally, of course, never came to fruition, but I wanted originally to focus on really bad commercials, really like social justice-y commercials when response videos were all the rage, and I wanted to look at the finer print of the commercial, so that's where the name came from. And when I looked up, a guy squinting at a piece of paper, that image that you see on the screen there, that's what came up.
Is that from The Hangover?
That is the guy from The Hangover, but from this particular avatar is from a show called Community, where he plays an English teacher or something.
Okay.
Called Senior Chang. Yeah, and that's from one of the episodes, right from the intro, and I managed to clip it out, and I had a guy, I don't think he's on YouTube anymore, his avatar used to be called EJ Cakes, but I think he's done with that, he's moving on to something else. He redesigned it for me into the form that you see before you.
It's very memorable because it's one of the first things, and this is kind of one of the things I was referring to before we got rolling here. Is that one of the first people that kind of gave me a hand out, and when I was brand spanking new to the quote community on this side of YouTube and stuff, was the white YouTuber. And he and I had streamed a couple of times, and and so I was really acquainted with his content, and I remember that particular collab.
Well, I mean, the white YouTuber used to be the herpes of YouTube, so everybody did something with him.
Exactly, and and in a way, he's the gift that keeps on giving, man. It's like, and he is missed. I'll say that. I'll be the first to say that.
Look, yeah, I mean, he managed to reach out to so many people, so many different aspects of YouTube as well, and he was actually the one who helped give me a real boost in the amount of people that watch my content. So I'm thankful for that. I wish he was back, but I understand if he needs to do other shit. So.
Yeah, that's right, man. You got to go where life takes you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So looking at your youth and your childhood, you want to talk about a little bit about that? Like, what was it like being a young finer print growing up in this world?
God, a young finer print was a skinny Israeli boy that grew up, went to the army, and after the army decided to go study Chinese. So I traveled to China for 5 years. I studied the language there. I met my wife there, who's American, not Chinese. I mean, I worked in a lot of different industries, a lot of different fields. My main field right now is television production, broadcast, editing, videos, and all that stuff. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I do.
your vids definitely show a definite pinch out for like really nice production quality. So all right, so let me get this straight. So were you an Israeli citizen? You
Yep.
grew up in Israel and you served in the Israeli army, and
Yes,
and
sir.
then you went to China. That's fascinating. Was that a big culture shock when you went from Israel to to China? I'm sure it was.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I didn't quite catch that.
Was that a bit of a culture shock?
You could say that. Yeah, it was a culture shock on my digestive system. I was backed up for 2 weeks.
Holy moly!
Couldn't take a dump.
That's shitty.
Yeah, that's quite shitty. But no, I mean, I prepared myself in advance. I read a lot of books and watched a lot of movies and films and documentaries. I took some classes before I got to China, so I'll be a little bit more fluent in the language. And it's Beijing, which is where I stayed, is pretty cosmopolitan. You can get pretty much everything you need there, so it wasn't too bad.
All right, so
Yeah.
is there somebody influential from your childhood that really sticks out in your memory? Some mentor or something like that you think still has an effect on you to this day?
I wouldn't say so. Just because my life had taken so many different twists and turns, and I had several different mentors along the way, but none that had that like long lasting influence, and maybe except my father and my mother, because they raised me and they explained how to live life to me. You know what I mean? It's kind of a universal truth, I think, that you need to be able to be courteous. You need to be able to navigate through life in a certain way so that other people will respect you and not just look down at you or spit at you or anything like that.
I totally agree, man. It's so all right. So that brings all right. So that brings me to like a lot of people, and I've noticed this with people with military experience. It's like they do have this sense of individuality, man, that's very, very pronounced and strong. And I think that discipline must have a huge influence on that. What would you tell a young person going into the military at this day and age?
See, that's tricky. When I was just discharged, I would probably say don't go to the military. Just because I hated it, but I realize now that it gave me a lot of different tools and a lot of different aspects or ways to look at life. So I think it's a valuable experience. Actually, I did help this young kid who was from the States, actually, from my neck of the woods right now, who was going to go into the armed services in Israel, and he was was waffling about it, and I told him, you know what, do it. You've never left your backyard in the U.S. You only came to Israel for school. Do it. It'll make a man out of you, and he did, and he's flourishing right now.
I'm looking at the chat. Someone referred to you as the Chinese Dinesh D'Souza, but you're not Chinese. Right?
No. Despite my avatar, I am not in fact Chinese or Korean. I'm not Indian. I've never even been to India. Right-wing BDSM guy. He keeps calling me Dinesh. It's become this lore, if you will, of my channel and my streams, because apparently to them I sound like Dinesh D'Souza.
Every time I hear that, I crack up, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, so kind of moving on to like kind of getting into. So how did you end up in doing like the getting into television production and that field?
My wife is a very high-end television producer, so she kind of got me into the industry. I worked my way up, working as a runner, a stagehand, a production assistant. I work nowadays. I work more around audio. I do a lot of audio work for sports broadcasts. So, when you hear like the hit of the football when it's being punted, that's usually me pointing the mic at it.
Oh wow! So you're on the field with the
Yep.
with the boom. What is
Yep.
that little shell thing around it?
It's called a parab, or a parabolic mic.
Yeah, parabolic mic, exactly.
Yep. And I was actually, I don't know if Tonka's still in the chat, but I was actually texting back and forth with him one night because I was doing MMA, and I was just texting him back and forth because I know he's more into that stuff than others, and I was just like showing him pictures of the arena and the what's it called, the ring, or
right.
the octagon, and I was sitting courtside. You know, I had the best seat in the house, so.
Well, I'm sure you run into some interesting situations. What's the funniest thing that's happened to you? You know, on the football field, or you know, wherever. In the business.
I hate to do this because I don't want to name drop or anything, but I was doing a project in Shanghai. This was like right in the beginning of my career, and I won't name the artist. Suffice it to say, it's a very big female operatic style artist, Western, not Chinese. And I was supposed to go and run out and get her a bottle of water. So I go out to the store and I grab some Avion, and I bring it back to the venue. And the producer turns to me and he's like, "It's cold. She won't drink it. Take it away." I'm like, "Okay." Turn around. Sorry, I brought the water back to my wife. I'm like, "I'll drink it." I'm drinking that artist's water now. Yay!
So, yeah, that's when, you know, we would have gigs in my town and stuff. I did a similar job. We called it a runner. You know, it's like if they needed duct tape, I'd go get it for them and shit.
A gopher, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it is. And yeah, I've gotten into some. I got a dude accused me of stealing money from the Cult, the band, the Cult. Yeah, I almost got in a fight with their stage guy and shit, man. So,
yeah. Okay. So, I'm sorry. Gaius is saying it was Botticelli. No, I will name drop. It was Sarah Brightman.
Oh. Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow. I was gonna guess Patty LuPone, but I guess that shows you how old I am.
Yeah.
People joke about my boomerishness. Okay, I'm thinking about some. Okay, let's see.
Come on, let's move to the drama, man. Let's go. Let's get into the meat of things.
Well, you know, it's interesting because you know it's like over your career, you know, especially I mean your YouTube career. It's like you went from kind of commentary and response, and you've kind of morphed into, you know, and then the music started happening, right? And I don't think really the head started turning to your musical stuff until like the Mundane Match shit and all that stuff happened, right? Because I mean, Uzi Q and I have listened to your stuff. I mean, people don't know the Boomtown Rats, man. And I was like, you know, when you did that Why I Don't Like Mundane, it was like, I said, man, what is that keyboard, man? Because I mean, that just rang, and I had to look it up. You know, Why I Don't Like Mondays, and it was Boomtown Rats. I'm like, God damn, he's going all the way back to Bob Geldof and the coach Red Pill, the coach who sold the world, man. That's fantastic. I just love the lyrics and what you're doing with this music. And it sounds like you're a Johnny Cash fan too.
I love Johnny Cash.
Yeah, because you've covered him a couple of times, man. Talk about this stuff, man. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, okay, so credit where credit is due. The most exposure I got for my music was from the Kumite. I will say that. They featured a lot of my stuff, not just songs. They featured like memes and you know, GIF animations and all that stuff. Where it really started to take off, like you said, was around the Mundane Matt stuff, but not so much the Boomtown Rats. It was more about the Johnny Cash. That's when things started to really, really take off. And I think it was Naked Ape that used it once in his stream, and I think from there on it kind of snowballed to go to the Ralph Retort stream. And that's where I got like a ton of people coming to my channel. And not that, you know, the Kumite and Naked Ape didn't bring a lot of people, but it was just insane. Like the amount of people that came over just because of those two songs, the I Buy Subs and the Hurt parody, which was the biggest one by far. That's where it all came from. And I mean, the idea for these songs, the reason I kind of switched from the commentaries was because it was getting a little bit stale. It was getting a little bit old. You know, how many times can you respond to a video of a you know, the decrepit black woman with a hump who's transgender and you know, club-footed and talking about feminism, and I'm like, yeah, okay, great, you know, patriarchy is a lie, and the wage gap is a lie. Okay, yeah, we got that. You can only repeat yourself so many times.
Cubbyhole politics.
Yeah, it's like it's copy-paste stuff. I always refer to myself as a derivative asshole. Okay, because everybody fucking does this shit. AIUs does this shit. Naked Ape used to do this shit. Armored Skeptic does this crap. A lot of the smaller channels do this stuff. I just want to do something that's more up my wheelhouse. You know, music. I'm a musician. I play guitar. I have been playing guitar for the past 25 years. Played in bands. I sang backup vocals. I did recordings. You know, all kinds of stuff.
It's
and
obvious, man. You're very talented.
That's where my heart. That's where my heart truly lies. And those parodies. That's a nice little way of touching upon a certain subject and making commentary about it, but making it in song form.
Right. Doing it with your touch, and I think that's what separates the wheat from the chaff when it comes to this whole YouTube thing, especially you know, in this corner of the whatever you want to call it, because it's like how many times can you, like, you know, take Riley Dennis apart? You know,
Riley Dennis is a special kind of stupid, and I've done several videos about him, as well as Anita, but it gets old.
I'm not I'm not referring to you in specific. I'm talking about as, like, you know, how to, because it's like you get to a certain point where it comes down to, like, okay, am I going to do what everybody else does, or, you know, it's like, and if you can't not do what everybody else does, then you've got a problem, because there's literally, you know, there's literally tons of channels that are doing the exact same thing, right?
Right.
Blah, 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 right? And so how do you separate yourself from that? And it's like, and you said the exact same thing that I think I've had to learn how to respond to it too with, is just do what I want to do. You know, and have fun doing it. You know, it's like, because I'm sure that a lot of these people that are approaching this shit are just going, holy fuck, another one of these. Because, you know, and if your fans are doing that too, then what do you got?
Exactly. I mean, look, everybody can do videos like Sargon of Akkad does. Everybody can do videos like Vernaculus does.
Exactly.
It's a question of how you, like you said, separating the wheat from the chaff. Is your content good enough? Does it stand out? Does it provide something else that other people haven't touched upon? I'll give you an example. My very first video, nobody fucking touched this. It was a video response to a feminist investment firm called Elevest. And they were like, you know, investing money should be feminist and this and that and the other, and nobody touched it. So that was my first video. So I tried to, like, differentiate myself by not going for the lower hanging fruit that everybody did. Like Lacey Green, Riley Dennis, what's her name? That psychiatrist that goes after Sargon, Christy Winters. Yeah, you know, it's easy to go for the lower hanging fruit. It's harder to try and make something of your own, I think.
I agree. I totally agree with that. The whole challenge is translating, and you have to just, I think that's an innate creativity thing, and this is not like a bragging thing or anything. It's just like, you know, it's like, I think we've sought similar solutions to a similar problem, correct? Whereas, you know, the creativity is the answer, I think. Because I think that's what I'm looking for. That's why I'm drawn to your stuff. It's because you're creative, and it's like, and I can laugh, you know, because I was in a band, and, you know, we sucked. I'll tell you that right now. But
we all sucked.
But I love, you know, what you're doing with some of the music, man. You know, the Metallica parody, Context That Matters, man. That's some fantastic guitar playing. I mean, you know, you're really doing a great job on that stuff.
Oh, okay. Let me clarify something here. While I do have a guitar, and I do know how to play a lot of these songs, I'm a lazy fucker. A lot of the songs that you're hearing is actually not me playing the guitar. It's the karaoke versions of those songs.
Oh, okay.
You know, I thought maybe playing something on that, like playing the solo on the Nothing Else Matters cover. But because that particular subject matter with Baked Alaska was just so freaking retarded, I'm like, let's go with the retarded flute stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that fucking worked. Because whenever I saw it like on the Kumite on the morning, and I would just open the chat, and I just like, people would be like, ear rape, what the fuck, flute solo, you know, it was like expected, you know what I mean? And that was great.
And everybody, okay, I've got as my I don't know if I've got all your information in the description there, finer print, but you know, I recommend everybody subscribe to this guy, and just for the music, if you know, I mean, it's great stuff. And then of course, then there's the Weekend Warriors show, which is, you know, this next level shit posting. It's funny as fuck. I was asked to ask you this question. Are you so Asian that you can bite a wall?
That I can what?
Bite a wall.
Bite a wall?
Yeah, I guess Brian, that was from him. So
I don't know what that means.
and he told me to ask you about a vaginal Rorschach.
Yes, vaginal Rorschach. That was from our last stream. That's courtesy of Big Fat Brian, by the way. We were looking at a BuzzFeed free flowing video, free bleeding. Sorry, free bleeding, where a bunch of girls from BuzzFeed were walking around without their tampons or their pads on throughout the office, and they had like these, you know, those like puppy pads that you put down for a puppy when it's still peeing and pooping around the house.
Oh God.
You know, and it would just like bleed all over them. And we were looking at the video, and at one point or another, this girl was filming down her panties, and it looked like a Rorschach painting. And Brian said vaginal Rorschach, and I'm like, okay, sold. I'm making a T-shirt out of it.
That is a great idea for a T-shirt, man.
Yeah, haven't sold any yet, but that's okay.
Well, then there was the Billy Joel thing. We didn't stoke the fire. That like you just abruptly just end it. And
yeah, here's the thing.
No, that was perfect, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll
talk to me about that, because that was
I'll part the veil. I'll part the veil. Okay, here's the thing. When you're writing lyrics, especially when you're doing a parody subject matter, it's really difficult to include everything about your subject matter in a song.
Right.
There are certain topics that you can elaborate. You know, there's, let's say, mundane Matt. So we have boulders, we have flaggings, we have him being a shitty asshole about his apology. So that's 3 subject matters that you can write a few verses on. With the We Didn't Start the Fire, that's a 5-minute song with a shit ton of lyrics. A shit ton.
Yes.
And I could have probably run out of topics and ideas by the second verse. And because it it focused on Sargon and Jim and all that stuff, and Sargon had that boomer moment where 20 minutes of his stream was not working, and audio was all muted. That's why the video ended the way it did. You know, like, error, Sargon.execute has stopped working, you know, and all of that stuff.
That was great, man.
That was the thought process behind that. And I got a lot of comments on that video, like, do the full song, do the full song. I'm like, I didn't write the full song.
No, see, Uzi's a big Billy Joel fan, man, and we were like listening to it, and then when it ended like that, she laughed out loud. You know, that, well, I mean, it was funny as shit. The way you did it was just spot on.
It was more a meme than it was a full parody.
Yeah,
you know?
well, yeah. Yeah, whatever. It was good. It was funny, you know, and that's the whole point. It's like that's what separates you, I think, you know, from different people is that you've got this great comic. You know, of course, being a musician, you know, comedy is all about timing, and people, you know, it's like if you if you don't understand that, then you'll never, be able to do comedy because, it's like if you can't dance and if you can't, if you can't keep a beat, then you SOL when it comes to making people laugh because you've got to be able to know when to, pop, pop, pop.
And if you can't dance, then you ain't no friend of mine.
That's right. Do the safety dance.
Do the safety dance. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Might do something with that someday.
Hey man, I would love to see that. I love that old song, man. I got a story about that, but we won't go into that.
Yep, that's all right.
Because it involves anyway. Let's see. Okay, so kind of getting more personal stuff. What was the moment that you knew you weren't a child anymore? We'll come back to this stuff.
Ooh. The moment I knew I wasn't a child anymore, when I got my M16 at boot camp. Yeah, my AR-15 military variant. Basically, for those of you who don't know what an M16 is, it's a big ass rifle. Yep,
it's a Armalite version of they call them assault rifles.
Well, that's actually a Colt. It's not an Armalite. Armalite is a different company.
Right. You're right. That's British, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Do you have would you have a guilty pleasure? Is there, like?
Ooh. I have a lot of guilty pleasures.
Like something like Plan 9 from Outer Space or something. It's like something that it's pure shit, but you really, you kind of hate to admit that you like it, but you like it. That kind of thing.
I got to think about that. Well, both my wife and I love the movie Notting Hill, which is gay as shit.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you should watch it. It's very funny, very entertaining.
See, Uzi turned me on to The Princess Bride, and I found that to be a really funny movie.
Oh, that's not a guilty pleasure. That's a fucking fantastic movie.
It is a fantastic movie. It's like, but when I was like when it came out, I was a snobby 18 to 20-ish, like better than everything. I was, I guess the equivalent to a goth at that point. So everything sucked, and I wanted life to be short.
Real quick, I'm sorry. Right-wing BDSM guy, beef ramen noodles are not a guilty pleasure. They're a vice for me.
Beef ramen, man. Sometimes you just got to do the noodles, man.
Love noodles, man.
It's like that comfort. It's that strange comfort food from college or something, whatever. I totally agree with that. And it's so fucking salty, and that's like, I'm not supposed to have any kind of sodium, but it's like, fuck it.
You're such a boomer.
I know it, dude. Bubba, if you only knew. That's all I'm saying. It's just, just set your clock for pain and pain and more pain. What about anime? Are you a big fan of anime or?
I am, yeah. I like a lot of different shows, but none of the shows that I like are ongoing. So I don't watch stuff like Dragon Ball or anything like that.
Right.
A lot of the stuff that I watch is older, mostly movies. The one show that I was really into was Bleach. Fruits Basket was another one, which it starts out as really gay and goofy, but ends up really fucking dark. I think it's only like 12 episodes, and by the 11th episode, it just goes like Death Wish dark. Wow. really dark.
What's the name of that again?
It's called Fruits Basket.
Okay.
It's a lot of cutesy shit and shonen kind of crap. But like I said, towards the last two to three last episode, it goes fucking dark.
When you said Bleach, have you seen the live action Netflix adaptation of that yet? Hello? Brent, can you hear me? I have lost Brent. Check. People, if you can hear me, give me a 1, please. I don't know what just happened. Brent, I cannot hear you. If you can hear me, okay. Check. All right. Yeah. If you can tell, yeah, please give me a 1 if you can hear me. All right. But can you? All right. Can you hear Finer Print? Because I cannot. And his mic is off. It looks like it's something happened, got unplugged or something. But anyway, so we'll sit here and try to figure out what's going on here. Yeah, his mic's not even lighting up, but it's okay. It was a short life, but it was fruitful and quite fulfilled. He just notified me that his power went out. Let me see if that was a. We're returning. All right. And while I'm waiting on that answer, I will hit everybody. Mad Dodge, how you doing? Right wing BDSM guy. Why cannot we have you a wrench? Seamus Derby, I've never met you, but it's an honor. Christopher Kirkland, you as well. I don't recall your name. Queen of Shade, hey. Dan S. Space Medic, how's it going? Just trying to pull everybody out. You know what? Let's do this, man. I'm just going to pull it out. I'm going to whip this out. Okay.
Hey, sorry about that.
No problemo, man. I just was like we were talking, and all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah, my wife was tripping breakers downstairs, and I lost power.
Well, hey, you know.
So I'm on my phone now.
All right, you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. So where did I fall out? Because I don't know.
It was, to be honest, it kind of wigged me out a little bit. So it's like I guess we were talking about we had
anime and stuff.
Yeah, anime, exactly. I was
yeah.
So you were talking about I had asked you that if you had seen the live version of Bleach.
Not yet. I've seen the trailers.
Yeah.
I've seen the trailers.
All right, I would be interested to see your take because I haven't read Bleach or seen the anime, but people have recommended it to me. Said it's a fantastic. I'm a big horror freak, so it's like I'll gravitate that way.
Well, Bleach is not so much horror. I have read the manga and saw the anime, and also some of the movies, not all of them. The adaptation looks pretty good. It doesn't look great, but rarely do these things ever translate to look the same way as they do in the book or anything like that.
Well, good. Okay. Well, we can move on and talk about all right. So, what is a common misconception that you believe people have about you personally?
That I'm Asian. People think I'm Asian because of my avatar, and every time I talk to some people, and they're like, "Damn, you're not Asian." I keep forgetting that.
It's like you could do a Michael McDonald ripoff on that. Can't believe we're not an Asian man.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Pretty much.
Yeah, that just I songs and shit jump in my head all the time, so I can imagine. That's one thing I do wish I was more proficient at playing guitar because it's like listening to your music's kind of inspirational and kind of wants me to get a creative kink. But your songs do, especially the material you've been working on recently. I guess because of the Mundane Matt stuff and brings up you kind of touch on some questions here that are kind of. People are kind of throwing blind eyes to, like things like purchasing subs, and then the whole deal with Coach Red Pill, and I don't know. It just seems like there's like you and I, man. It's like we can go off after this show and we'll go hang out in Big Fat Brian's voice chat or my voice chat, wherever, and we're pretty much going to have the similar conversation as to what we're having now. But there's people that are actually, doing characters and presenting themselves like the character is actually who they are. And, it's kind of, but I can understand putting up a wall, and having that kind of distance. And, I totally understand that. But it's like, what do you think about that kind of, I see it as being disingenuous. If I'm having to buy subs, if I'm having to be somebody else, what does that say about me?
Right. Well, I mean, the thing about the I buy subs, and I actually I had to put a disclaimer on this on my video, is that it turned out that he wasn't actually buying subs.
Really?
It was actually somebody. Yeah, I think it was Tonka who mentioned that on one of the Kumites a few weeks ago. That's where the extreme disappointment voice clip of his came out, I think, because somebody decided to fuck around with Matt, and get him into trouble with the community, if you will, by making it look like he's the one purchasing subs, which is a really stupid troll when you think about it, because what you're doing is spending money on someone else for a laugh. It's dumb.
It doesn't make sense. It's
really fucking dumb. And it's also really taking the sting out of stuff that I do, like parodies, because I was working on another song before this whole thing came about, that he was not the one buying subs, that didn't come to fruition.
Well, let me ask you this, though. Don't you think that kind of sent like a red flag, because it was like all over the place, that maybe that people, that were trying to reach to a certain point, and then they're not getting there fast enough in their own opinion, that like, all right, if I could just go ahead and, buy, and they're out there, man. There's those fucking places that are out there, and they're fucking all in India or some shit. Where it's like you get 180 or 100. It was like, I saw one that said 167 subs, and I'm going, why in the fuck would somebody buy subs? But I don't know. For me, that just wouldn't feel right, because
it felt to me like somebody was just trying to push drama for the sake of drama.
Yeah, and that also, we see that happen, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Actually, you know what? My power just came back. Let me hop in from my computer real quick.
So
just give me 1 second.
Go for it. Go for it. Artist trash. Why are you so wrong? I disagree, Space Medic. There's some art that, well, if you want to call it trash, some trashy art can actually be give one a pleasurable experience if you're able to get a laugh out of it. I remember I was up in New York a while back, and I had seen this dude had literally taken garbage and fucking just stacked it up on a on a podium, and he called it art, man, and people were literally looking at it and taking notes at it. And I'm like, y'all, this is a stack of garbage. Don't y'all see what it's like? It's all, it's almost like the artist is making fun of the See, I've got a degree in art, and I would go to these things, and all these like people that had money and would, they would get into these bullshit pseudo-intellectual discussions about art, and I'm like, please, let's just buy my fucking sculpture. Because I mean, it was all just. There's something about me that just really viscerally reacts to fake shit, right? To fake people, and and I guess that comes from kind of my background and stuff. But I've always been able to trust my gut about people. Mm-hmm. So anyway,
I mean, look,
we're talking about me. This is about you. So
yeah, it's fine.
Go for it.
I was gonna say art is very subjective.
Absolutely.
So for one person, what looks like a pile of trash, for another person looks like amazing piece of art.
Yeah, well, yeah, and especially when you get into cubism and all that stuff, there's a lot of people aren't
Cubism, Dadaism, anything of that sort. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite. You know, when everything slid from impressionism into basically Dadaism and cubism, there's a whole, and then there's the expressionist. You know, the European, especially the Austrian and German expressionists of pre-war Germany. That were all, pretty much kicked out, or if they weren't, they were put in camps and shit for being degenerates. And it's some of the best art I've ever seen in my life, especially Oskar Kokoschka. I'm a big fan of his stuff. But I divert. I digress. I digress, Your Honor. I'm seeing a lot of stuff on the news lately about judges and stuff.
Oh God! Don't get me started on that. I was so incensed with the whole hearing process.
Yeah, and I'm sure we've got more of that shit to come on. Say hey to Mark Como.
Hey, Mark Como. How's it going, buddy?
Speaking of Riley's Adam's apple.
Yep.
Just. But yeah, so do you think that NCAA football, especially SEC football, is nothing more than an analog for the Civil War?
I would have to know more about the league. I don't really follow football, especially not college football. So
I had to come with some sideways shit for you, brother.
That's fine. That's fine.
I knew that.
People tend to forget that I'm not American because I have very little accent or no accent to some people.
No, so. It's not discernible from my southern ear.
Yeah.
But then again, I eat dirt and stuff, so I'm a hick.
Okay, so all right. I can always talk in an Israeli accent like this, so nobody will understand what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I'd rather respect the person I'm talking to by adopting and adapting my accent to his, so they feel more comfortable to talk to me.
Yeah, I get it, man. Yeah, it's very cordial. And I appreciate that.
I try to be.
Yeah, and that's something we could use more of, especially in the way that we treat each other on this side of the interwebs. Let's see. I've got a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, shoot.
What? All right. What's your take on AI, man? What do you think? I'm serious. This is a serious discussion here because this.
You mean artificial intelligence?
Yes, and the way that it's developing. Do you think?
It depends on the application.
Right.
If you apply it towards ways to monitor and nudge people's lives in a certain direction, then I'm very much opposed to it. On the other hand, I think for certain aspects of life, I think AI is good. When it, if it learns and understands and is able to solve different problems to make our lives better, then I'm all for it. But what's happening right now with let's say the YouTube AI or algorithm, if you will, is that it is, yes, it's artificial intelligence, but it's still getting fed its information from somewhere. And that information being fed to it is fed to it through a very particular lens of bias. And I find that to be really, really iffy. Especially with all the stuff that we've been seeing coming out of Google and coming out of Twitter and coming out of Facebook, that the biases there are very much counter to most of the people in America right now.
Yeah.
I'll be perfectly frank. I am a center-right conservative with some libertarian leanings, which is very antithetical to a lot of American Jews. But because I'm not American, fuck you. I really could care less about what they think about me.
Okay, well, you know what? That brings some other questions then. All right.
Yeah.
So I take it that you're fully, are you full citizenship here?
No.
Or do you
I
share dual citizenship? Whatever. Tell me.
No, I actually just recently got my my extension for my green card for 10 years. I was going through the immigration process legally, Make sure that everything's above board with the government, because you know what? I want to be here, and I want to live here, and I want to do it legally, and I want to do it right. I fucking hate the fact that people walk into the country here with no papers, with no visa, with no rights at all, and they get more benefits than I ever could or try to get.
It's fucked up. Usually when I talk to, you know, everybody that I talk to that is in the country legally, you know, that people that were born, you know, outside of the United States, I get a similar type of thing, because you're busting your ass. You know, you're paying taxes, and you're having to jump through all these hoops. You're patient. You're willing to do it. And you know, and all these other people are just, you know, like saying, "Fuck you, the door's wide open. I'm here. You know, get over it." And it's disrespectful, I think, to the process that you've had to go through, and several people, you know, well, not several, like millions of fucking people that have immigrated legally here.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
You know, I guess, you know, when you break it down, you and I, you know, political. I don't like to try to get specifically political. You know, when I do, you know, the stuff like on this show or anything. But you know, it's like I will, you know, I do like to go there, with specific people, because it sounds like that's a very important thing to you. You know, if you want to talk more about it, let's do it.
Well, I mean, I think it's a very important thing for all of us, whether we like it or not. Politics is very much in our lives, in our day-to-day lives, outside of this platform, outside of social media. Anywhere you go, I not to dox myself, but I live about an hour outside of Philly, and if you go to Philly, and you go especially to like North Street or Main Street, and you walk around that area, it's scary. It's like walking around Beirut. Damn. And yeah, it's a lot of people, and I'm from a very specific religious persuasion. I won't name it, because I don't want your channel to get taken down. It's not comfortable for me to walk around there, not just as a Jew, but as a Caucasian man who is not Muslim. It's frightening, and to me, I think it's incumbent on some of us, at least, to be able to be vocal about it and speak out about it, and say, you know what, no, I'm gonna do things my own way, by the book, and fuck you if you're gonna try and stand in my way.
You know, that's interesting, because I was watching Tim Pool video earlier today, and he was talking about this article that was saying that you know, and this is one of the reasons I left Facebook, because I was in an argument with this person, and I posited that this was like a year before the election, right? We were ramping up. Trump, you know, was doing his thing during the you know, the primaries and stuff, and it was, you know, it was getting messy. And I was saying, look, man, I don't know about you, but it feels like to me that we're in the middle of a cold civil war. And you know, and it's like, and the person really couldn't give me a good argument as to why I was wrong, and so I left that, because that's really incendiary, you know, terms, right? But then again, you know, I turned on Tim Pool today, and what is he talking about? About us being in a cold civil war at this point.
Well, Tim Pool tends to be a little bit hyperbolic, I find, in a lot of his content.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And he's young too. He tends to lean like a young person. Yeah, you know, look, I'm a recovering liberal. You know?
I was never liberal. I was from a very young age raised to be a conservative, fiscally conservative, socially not so liberal, but you know, to an extent. But yeah, Tim Pool, like you said, he's a young kid. He's in his 20s. I don't think he sees the bigger picture as some people do. It lends itself to a lot of hyperbole when he talks about certain subjects. He's entertaining. I like watching his content. I just find him to be a little bit over the top.
And I think that's calculated on his part. You know.
Oh no, I don't think so either.
You know, I think he's learning, and you know, it's really weird because kind of like looking at him, it's kind of like seeing myself at his age. I was, because I came out of the gate. You know, when I graduated out of college, I was pretty much, you know, a pretty hardcore liberal. And then I started noticing, you know, all the inconsistencies and double standards. Double standards, man, fucking piss me off more than anything else on the planet. You know, it's like if you're gonna tell me you're one way, then be consistent. You know, it's like I grew up Catholic, and one thing I say about my mom is that she's consistent, right? She's pro-life, but she's also she's not pro-war. And she's also against the death penalty, you know, and that's consistent with somebody that says they're pro-life,
right?
You know, and I don't want to get too philosophical, you know, politically here, but that's kind of like the whole. That's what kind of put the cracks in my foundation, realizing. And then I talked to one guy and I asked him. He ended up being the head of the Republican Party in this state for a year. And I said, dude, why do you vote Republican? Why aren't you a libertarian? Why aren't you a liberal? And he said, man, he said, I'm a Republican because I can read. you know, and it's like, and I fucking, exactly, man. I love that guy. He's not with us anymore, but I think of him quite a bit nowadays. Because he saw all this shit coming, man. He said,
and look, there's an old adage out there that I'm sure you've heard before. It says, if you're not liberal in your 20s, you have no heart. Mm-hmm. If you're not conservative by your 30s, you have no brain.
Exactly. I think that's attributed to Winston Churchill, but I'm not sure he said it either. It sounds more like Mencken, doesn't it?
Probably. I'm not sure where the origins of it, but it speaks to a certain truth that we see unfold nowadays in pretty much everywhere. If you look at the media, if you look at what's going on in our culture, everything that surrounds us, it's a lot of these very young individuals, very middle class, very socially aware, very liberal, and who are going further and further away from the ideas that actual liberal societies were founded upon, and I think that's terrifying. Mm-hmm. I think that these kids need a serious wake up call. I would recommend to anybody in the chat who's still liberal, take a trip. Take 6 months out of your life and go to a place like China or go to a place like India. Get a new perspective on life. Don't go to fucking Europe. Don't go do the train tour crap. Go and live in a place. If you live in a place where the odds are stacked against you because you're not a local and you're not a member of that ethnicity, it gives you a very unique way to look at things. And it gives you the challenge to actually push through and succeed, which I have, very much so. I mean, I've done some really high-profile stuff in China. I won't name anything at the moment, but we'll talk about it in private if you want. But
you stood in front of that tank.
No, that was 1989, dude. I was in fucking school.
Right. He didn't make it either, did he? So.
No. I was there around the Olympics period. That'll give you enough information.
I got you.
But yeah, get out of your bubble. My wife's nephew, my wife's nephew has been in the bubble. We've tried to get her to come to China and visit us, never came. And you see it in how they behave, and you see it in how they act in public. People who've been outside of their bubble are able to have a better perspective on life, in my opinion.
And that's what I refer to the bubble of academia. And to some degree, the extremely wealthy, that can separate themselves, from like living paycheck to paycheck, and those, we have people that technically are middle class, that have no savings, and they're living hand to mouth. Just one bad accident away from being homeless, And you know, and that's, you know, that's what this country's looking at. But we see these people, you know, that are, you know, that dictate down to us, you know, that we're, you know, we're morally inferior. You know, when, you know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, the moral superiority was, you know, the moral majority, which were a bunch of, you know, born again Christians that were, you know, proselytizing, you know, to this hardcore, you know, despicable version of, you know, what I think, you know, as a man who studied a lot of religions and stuff, I don't think Jesus would have been on board with any of that shit. Just, you know, from what I've read about the guy.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I've been saying this for over a year now, is that the left has become the new puritanical side of the aisle.
And that's where I was going. Yes.
Yeah. It's just it. Take the Kavanaugh thing for example. Okay, if we're going to go into a little bit of politics here, but the Kavanaugh thing, I think, exemplifies exactly what the left doesn't get. Because if you look at the time period where the alleged incident happened, it was in 1982. 1982 was the height of the religious right epidemic that was going on in America. They were the prudes, they were anti-sex, they were, you know, pro abstainment as a means of birth control.
Right.
And the left was just pushing, you know, free love, free sex. You know, that was right around the time when gays were coming out of the closet, so it was more acceptable to be gay. The AIDS epidemic was just starting, and people were not happy with being sexually repressed. So let's say, for example, and this is completely hypothetical, that Kavanaugh did in fact try to grope Christine Blasey Ford. Let's say, for example, that he did. It was around that time the left was socially accepting of it. And now, fast forward to 2018, they're like, no, that's not okay. That's no, sorry, no, we changed our minds. No, you can't do that. You know, they wag their finger at you. But they're doing the exact same thing that the religious right would have done 20, 30 years ago.
Exactly, and that's my point. I've seen that whole metamorphosis, man, from, you know, what, you know, everything that attracted me about, you know, the liberal mindset and everything has been corrupted and twisted into this like really bizarre mirror image of everything that I was against, you know, at that point in time. It wasn't necessarily the things that appealed to me, but the things that repelled me about the other side. And
exactly.
and now they've adopted, you know, they've become exactly what they feared the most.
Exactly.
You know,
they became the exact boogeyman that they were fighting to overthrow.
Absolutely. And that's something I think that's a lesson that we all need to take to heart, because I think that, and this is just my personal experience, is that if you don't embrace that part of you that scares you, or that part of you that makes you that cringe, or that something that you see in other people that you're not so likely to acknowledge in yourself, you have to embrace that part of yourself, or else you're going to become that. And I think that's on a personal level, and I think we see that on a you know, manifest on a fucking social scale now with this shit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's just all. That's kind of, you know, Jungian bullshit. You know, yeah. I'm trained. You know, so.
I mean, look. Am I saying that conservatism is the only path? No, of course not. And the smoke alarm just went off. Great. But I mean, there is no right answer for everything in the world. All you can hope to do is live your life the best way that you can, and be a man or be a woman or be whatever you want to call yourself at that point in time, if you're gender fluid. Just be a good person. Don't be a fucking asshole like a lot of these people are.
And don't force your shit on me. You know.
Nope. No, I don't do it to you. Live. Don't do it to me.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, man. So I think this is a perfect place to kind of wrap the interview with. I think that we're right at just past the top of the hour, and
yep.
Obviously there's an alarm going off, and there's your house is burning on fire, and we're calmly.
No, there's a roast in the oven.
Yeah, it sounds like every time Uzi Q cooks something, man, it goes, we got to teach our women how to cook. But anyway,
yep.
Is there anything, I'm going to give you a moment to shill, anything coming up that you want to, any songs that you're going to be releasing soon that we need to keep an eye out for? And
no songs at the moment. I just released this last video, which was the Coach Who Sold the World, the David Bowie parody.
Fantastic.
And which is getting a fairly reasonably good responses so far. I do have my weekend streams, which did not took place this weekend because Bunny Blackwell got a bad case of the gay. She couldn't make it. No offense, Bunny. Next time maybe drink a little bit more water. Weekend Warriors is usually every Saturday or every Sunday. It depends on our schedules. It's not a set in stone kind of thing, but it's usually around 3 p.m. Eastern. And we just look at weird, cringy videos. It's kind of our way to do a response video without doing a response video, so to speak. And that's it. That's pretty much what I got. I got my channel, The Finer Print. You can go check it out. Yeah, have fun. Enjoy.
Well, fantastic. I do want to thank you once again, Finer Print, for taking time out of your schedule, man. To hang with me and to kind of share yourself with us. On a personal level, I definitely, like I say, I do this because people fascinate me, and I want to see, I want to know more about people. I wanted to know more about you, and I do now, and that's a good thing. Next week, I'll be looking at Makeup by Brooke. Brooke is a lovely young Canadian lady, and we're going to spend an hour with her, and we're going to learn more about her. And,
fuck Canada.
Well,
And by the way, before you go on, I just want to say, and you have actually popped my cherry here, because this is the first interview that I've ever done about my channel and my content. So you're the very first one.
Well, good. That lightens my heart to hear that, because that's kind of what I wanted to do, is to take people, like I said, that I find interesting, that are on YouTube, man, because there's a lot of people, and I think you need more exposure. You've got a nice rolling momentum going with your channel right now, and I just I kind of wanted to to let everybody see who you are, man.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. It's been a pleasure indeed. So, and on that note, I do want to say we're going to go ahead and close out. So say bye bye to the men's and women's.
Bye bye to the men's and women's.
And this is Irate Prostate saying, and this is another Sunday in the bucket, and we'll see you back here next week with Ice Cream Interviews and Makeup by Brooke, the lovely Brooke. And tomorrow night, I will be doing Irate Mondays. We're going to be talking about the Kavanaugh thing. We will be doing the Q spot. Q has some interesting insights as to the midterms. And Blind Press is going to present some stuff about Canada that is not being looked at. So, and on that note, this is Irate Prostate saying I'm OUT. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you this time next week. So take care, and